Hello friends, welcome to my classes, and in this video I'm giving you the important lectures on MCO-05 accounting for managerial decisions, especially for MCOM students. And I will be explaining all the important only 20 questions, and I hope these questions generally strikes in the exams. So I would expect all of you to prepare well all these 20 important questions. And as we know, there are accounting, so numericals and practical questions are also there. And most of you have problems in solving these practical questions. So there we go, and start with the first question. First, we will cover all the important theory questions, and towards the end of this course, we will try to cover up all the numericals. So the first question that I want you to learn, that is the important objectives and functions of accounting. So what are the important objectives and functions of accounting? For accounting, I will write A/C, no problem with that. Okay, so before I will explain you its objectives and functions, I would explain you what is this accounting. So accounting is basically it is an act, it is a process, it is an art of recording, classifying, interpreting and communicating the financial transactions to its interested users. So basically, all the important functions of accounting are there in its definition only. So all these important words that I have used in its definition would be the functions of accounting, which will be studied in this. So let's start with a few important objectives of accounting. So the important objectives, number one, identifying the financial to keep records. Now, to be more precise, to keep a systematic records of all financial transactions. And one thing, as a commerce student, you must know that in accounting, in commerce, we are concerned with those transactions which are financial in nature. We do not record any non-financial transactions. Now, non-financial, that means love, affection, honesty, loyalty. So all these things do not find any place in accounting. So we record only financial transactions. So So the first objective is to keep a systematic records of all the financial transactions. That's easy to learn. The second one, very important one, to find profit or loss. So this is one of the most important function of accounting, I will say, because every owner, every stakeholder, they are concerned about whether we are making profits or we are running into losses. So it is very important for a financial manager that he should once in a year or half yearly, he should find out whether they are in profits or losses. So that is only possible when there is a systematic accounting records of all the transactions. The third important objectives of financial accounting is to find the financial position of the company or of the business. So as we know, financial position, whenever we think about financial position, we should always have in our mind the value of assets and the value of liabilities. And it is always better to have more assets than liabilities, right? So, and to prepare this financial position, we generally prepare balance sheet. We know, we have studied in the previous classes about this. Okay, a balance sheet is generally prepared to find out the financial position where the company stands at the end of a particular year. Okay. The fourth important objective of accounting is to provide financial information to its users. So there are so many users in a company, like for example, the employees, owners, creditors, bankers, suppliers. So there are so many interested parties who are basically interested in the to know the financial position of the company. And this is again a very important objective of accounting, is to provide all the important accounting information to its interested users. So you need to learn these four objectives and expand it as you like. Let's move on to important functions of accounting. The first important function of accounting is to identify a financial transaction. So this is the main function of accounting, to identify whether the given transaction is financial or non-financial. Now, for example, there are so many transactions that happens in a day in a company, like for example, purchase of goods, sale of goods, any payment of expenses, or received, a receivable, rent receivable, interest is received. So there are, innumerable transactions. So an accountant always try to, try to identify that whether the given transaction is financial or non-financial. That's very simple. The second one, all the financial transactions are recorded. So that is called recording a transaction. So while recording a transaction, we use different ledgers, journals, books, like cash book. There are ledger accounts. There are so many vouchers. So they are all recorded date wise. And let's move on to the third important function of accounting. This is classifying. You need to classify the transactions, whether they are cash transactions or credit transactions, whether they are purchase transactions or sales transaction, whether they are expenses or they are incomes. So like that, you need to classify, you need to group all the different transactions. The fourth important function is interpreting. So all the results of this financial performance are interpreted, and they are, they are calculated. Okay, whether like where we stand, like we are calculating profit and loss, we are calculating the value of assets and liabilities. So that is called interpretation. What is the result or outcome of recording all these transactions? And the last important function is communicating. Communicating is like, the accounting information is communicated or passed on to different users. Just now I told you about this. So this question you must revise for MCO-05. The second one, what are the important concepts? What are the important concepts in accounting? So this is the question. As we know that accounting always have some concept, some standards, some principles, which is also described in GAAP. So this American institute, it provides द गाइडलाइंस, इसने पूरा तैयार किया हुआ है गाइडलाइंस, कुछ प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं जो एवरी अकाउंटेंट को फॉलो करने हैं। तो देखते हैं कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट जो हर अकाउंटेंट को, नो मैटर वेयर ही लिव्स, इन विच कंट्री ही वर्क्स, सो ही हैज़ टू फॉलो दिस। नंबर 1, बिजनेस एंटिटी कॉन्सेप्ट। कॉन्सेप्ट, सो बिजनेस एंटिटी कॉन्सेप्ट का मतलब हो गया लाइक द बिजनेस, द फर्म इज एन एंटिटी, it has a legal status, it has a common seal, it can enter into contracts with the third parties, and even it can be sued. That means it can be taken to the court. So it acts as an artificial person, and the owner of the company or business and the business, that business entity, both are different. The owner is different, the business is different. So that's why that is called business entity concept. Every business is a separate legal entity. The second concept is money measurement. Money measurement stands for every transaction that takes place in an organization can be expressed in terms of money. It cannot be expressed in terms of any other things. Okay, so that is called money measurement concept. Anything which cannot be measured in terms of money, so that cannot be recorded in the financial accounting. So we are only concerned with financial transactions. The third important concept is dual concept. Dual concept or dual aspect concept, same. As we know, accounting is also known as double entry system. That means it has two hands. One hand is called debit, the other is credit. So always there is a balance between debits and credit. The total debits must be equal to total credits. That's the way every transaction is recorded, two-folded. One is on the debit side, the other is on the credit side. So that is called dual aspect or double entry system of accounting. So this is again an important concept. The fourth concept, going concern. Now going concern means it is assumed that the business enterprise will continue for a long term of time. It is not going to wind up in the near future. इसकी लाइफ बहुत है, कंपनी बहुत दूर तक जाएगी, ये assume किया जाता है. So that is called going concern. And accordingly, we prepare accounts. The accountant has to assume कि नहीं, कंपनी का जो लाइफ है दैट इज़ वेरी लॉन्ग, एंड हम लोग आने वाले 10 साल का डेप्रिसिएशन कैलकुलेशन कर लेते हैं, 20 साल का कर लेते हैं, आने वाले 50 साल तक का कर लेंगे. तो लाइक दैट इट्स ए गोइंग कंसर्न. एंड लास्टली कंजर्वेशन कंसेप्ट. So all this, so every transaction is again, it's conservation in nature, conservatism. So the future is conserved in terms of provisions, in terms of reserves, so like that. So let's move on to the next important question, number 3. And here we will do the different types of cost. In question number 3, important question, बहुत बार एग्जाम्स में आता है ये क्वेश्चन. एंड ये सारे पॉइंट्स आपको कॉपीज़ में लिखने हैं, एंड ट्राई टू एक्सपैंड इन योर ओन वर्ड्स. दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वन. ओके, तो थर्ड क्वेश्चन में चलते हैं. टाइप्स ऑफ कॉस्ट, यहाँ से क्वेश्चन मिलता है आपको. Types of cost. So there are different bases or categories of dividing this cost. I will here only explain 3 types of categories, that is on the basis of functions, on the basis of variability, and on the basis of decisions. So let's classify this. So By drawing this flow chart, it would be easier for you to remember the different types of cost. So the first one I said, on the basis of functions. Let's see the important types of cost which are covered on the basis of functions. So the first one is manufacturing cost. I will write in short, manufacturing cost. The second type of cost here is administrative cost. Administrative cost. The third type of functional cost is selling cost. The fourth one is distribution cost. So these are the four types of cost on the basis of functions. Manufacturing cost, as the name implies, it's very simple to define this. All the costs which are covered to manufacture a particular product, like raw materials, power, labor, direct expenses, fuel. So there are so many manufacturing costs. So that's the first category. The second one, administrative. The cost which we incur in the administration or while administrating or while managing the activities. Basically, these are office cost. The cost which are incurred in the offices, like office rent, the cost of stationeries, salaries of the employees. So they all come under administrative cost. In selling cost, again simple, there are a lot of carriages, cartages, advertisement expenses, salesman expenses, commissions, brokerage. So lot of costs are there. So these costs are generally related with the selling of the product. And distribution cost, again, that generally covers the transportation and warehousing cost when the goods moves from godown or factory to the marketplace. So everywhere there are costs, so we can divide this type of cost. Now, on the basis of variability. So on the basis of variability, we can divide the cost into three parts. The first one is fixed cost. The second one, variable cost. And the third one, semi-variable cost. Now let's try to understand this type of cost. Fixed cost, as the name implies, they remain fixed whether you produce or you not. They remain constant. Like rent of the factory building. In a factory, it doesn't matter whether you produce goods there or you close down the production, but still then you have to pay the rent of the factory building. If suppose there is a gatekeeper in the factory, but the factory is not running, or whether it is running, you have to pay the salary to that person. So that is fixed cost, that remains as it is whether you produce or not. Okay. Then comes variable cost, just opposite of fixed cost, variable cost, they change with the production. The more you produce, the more will be the variable cost. Like for example, raw materials. If you produce say 100 commodities, 100 products, and if you want to produce say 150 products, so obviously you will be needing more raw materials to manufacture 50 more products. So that is variable. And semi-variable, again, it is a mixture of both these costs. Partly it is fixed, the other part is variable. Like for example, electricity bill. Now say for example, the electricity bill that comes for our houses also, some part is fixed. Like one that fixed rent is there of the electric meter or whatever it is. And apart from that, the more units of electricity you use, we have to pay for that. So that becomes, semi-variable cost. So like this. So in this way you can expand in your answer. Then we have one more classification, that is on the basis of decisions. In the exams, sometimes you get classification like examples, questions like classify cost according to the variability, classify cost on the basis of decisions. So like that. So you need to learn all this properly. Okay. On the basis of decisions, we can classify cost into, differential cost. Very important one. Differential cost. The second type of cost is sunk cost. The third type is opportunity cost. So these are the three important type of cost on the basis of decisions of the management. Now, differential cost, as the name implies, it arises due to the differences. When you change the method of production. Like for example, you are manufacturing 100 units and your cost for 100 units is say 1000 rupees. Now if suppose you want to manufacture again 100 units by using some better technology, the cost will be say 1200, say 800. So there is a difference of 200 rupees. So that is called differential cost. So by changing the method of production, by introducing new technology, so you automatically decreases the cost of manufacturing. So this is called differential cost. And differential cost can be again of two types. One is incremental, the other is decremental. When the cost decreases, it becomes decremental. When cost increases due to the change, it becomes incremental. Okay. Then we have sunk cost. So basically sunk cost is also known as historical cost, because they are historical in nature. They are past cost, like they have already incurred in the past, and still we are getting the benefit of that. In the previous, in the previous years we incurred the cost, but still then we are using the benefits. So that is sunk cost. And opportunity cost. Now this is very important. Basically this cost is also there in your economics, managerial economics. Opportunity cost, as we know, it's a universal law. When we want to manufacture one commodity, you have to sacrifice the other commodities. That's the rule. अगर एक commodity manufacture करनी है तो दूसरे को sacrifice करना पड़ेगा, because we have limited resources. And we just can't manufacture everything. We have to choose what is the best and suitable for us. We just can't do anything. Now suppose like your salary is 50,000 rupees. So that doesn't mean that you will buy the whole world. There are limits. You have to choose. You have choices. You have to select what is the best thing for you which can satisfy your want. So here also the same thing, opportunity cost. So if a company have resources, say 1 lakh rupees, and now it has choices. It can manufacture apples, it can manufacture oranges, it can manufacture grapes. So it depends. So in that way you can define this. Fine, let's move on to the next important question, number 4. It is from financial statements. And from this particular chapter, financial statement, you need to know its objectives, its advantages and disadvantages. So I will say objectives and advantages more or less वो बहुत close रहते हैं. तो अगर मान लो आपने objectives learn कर लिया तो उसको advantages में आप लोग लिख सकते हैं, no problem. You should have a meaning for that. Disadvantages आपको देखना पड़ेगा. ओके, तो सबसे पहले इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स देख लेते हैं. फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट, सबसे पहले मैं आपको बता दूं कि व्हाट आर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स. बेसिकली दीज आर स्टेटमेंट्स which are prepared at the end of an accounting period to know the profit and loss and the financial position of the company. इसमें दो बेसिक डॉक्यूमेंट हैं जो हम लोग जानते हैं, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट एंड बैलेंस शीट। ये दो इंपॉर्टेंट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स हैं जो एट द एंड ऑफ अकाउंटिंग पीरियड हम लोग प्रिपेयर करते हैं। तो दैट्स वेरी सिंपल। तो इसका पहला ऑब्जेक्टिव विल बी टू फाइंड प्रॉफिट और लॉस, whether the firm has incurred profit or loss during the year, and this is prepared basically by preparing a statement called trading and profit and loss account, which we have done in class 11 and 12 in BCom, like that. Very simple. We have done this many times. Simple one. The second important objective of financial statement is to find the financial position of the company, financial position of the company. So this is also very simple. By preparing balance sheet, we can know the value of assets and liabilities that lies with the company. And the third is to find the NPV. NPV stands for net present value. Now generally as a company, as a financial manager, when we are trying to invest somewhere, so we find the NPV of that, net present value, like our investment, how the returns will come when we will flow the cash into the investments. So how the investment will be calculated and how the returns will be calculated. So that is done by doing net present value method of the cash flows. So for this also we need to prepare this. One more important objective, to find the tax liability. How much tax the company needs to pay to the government. So that is also calculated on the basis of these financial statements. Simple, because that is calculated on the profits. Then the next one, to take managerial decisions, to take important decisions about the policies, the procedures, the investments. So you need financial statements. The management, they do the whole analysis of the financial statements. So these are the important objectives. Let's move on to the important advantages, merits of this. More or less similar. To take financial decisions, the important decisions about finances, cash flows, so they are taken on the basis of this. About the investment, where to invest, how much to invest, so that can be found out by preparing financial statements. Then employee decision we can take, how much employees are required for a particular work, whether we will reduce the number of employees or we have to increase the number of employees. So while taking this employees decision, you need financial statements. And again, to know the financial strength, that is this one, these two. So these two can be written here. And fifth one is to do the SWOT analysis. SWOT, that is, SWOT stands for S for strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threat. So we can do a market analysis of the finances and what are the opportunities and threats or the strength the company has over its competitors. So that also can be found out with the help of these financial statements. Okay. Let's talk about the disadvantages of financial statements. So while talking about the disadvantages, the first one is inaccurate. It is inaccurate because it relies on the management principles, and the principles are principles. They are not accurate always. The principles are always based on certain assumptions, like accounting principles that we discussed, like going concern, business entity, dual concept. So they are not accurate, they are not 100%. It is unrealistic, it's not real, unrealistic. They are not reliable, the financial. There may be some mistakes. There may be some loopholes by the accountant, so that may result in the problems. And the third one is it ignore non-financial transactions. This is one important fact, because it also plays an important part, like reputation of the company, loyalty of the workers, efficiency of the workers. So they are not considered in accounting or in financial statements. So that makes it partial. Okay, so it's not human. And one very important drawback of this, it is historical in nature, because we record all the past expenses, all the past transactions, and their benefits and their expenses are carried on and on. तो ये सारा हिस्टोरिकल इन नेचर है, हिस्ट्री के जैसे है. तो इट मतलब रिलायबल नहीं है, एक्यूरेट नहीं है. हिस्ट्री नहीं पता किसने लिखा, कब लिखा, क्या हुआ. इट्स नॉट एक्यूरेट. वी जस्ट हैव टू एज्यूम कि ऐसा हुआ था. वी डू नॉट नो. Then it is unreliable. This point also you can add. So these these 5 main disadvantages of financial statements, which you can mention in your answer. And let's move on to the next important question. Okay. The next important question, number 5, is from fund flow statement. Question number 5, what is fund flow statement? I will write in short, fund flow, FFS, and again its objectives plus objectives or advantages you can write. They are same. And one more thing you can do here, the difference between FFS, fund flow statement, versus cash flow statement. So these are important questions. Now fund flow statements, basically fund flow statement का मतलब होता है like the changes in the financial position of the company between the opening balance and closing balance. आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट बनाते हैं हम लोग, ओपनिंग बैलेंस दिया होता है, क्लोजिंग बैलेंस दिया होता है, ठीक है, उसका जो डिफरेंस निकलता है, सो दैट इज जनरली व्हाट वी डू इन FFS, फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट. सो हाउ द फंड मूव्स ड्यूरिंग द ईयर, कितना इनफ्लो हुआ, कितना आउटफ्लो हुआ. सो दैट इज डिटरमाइंड बाय दिस वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डॉक्यूमेंट. इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स देख लेते हैं. सबसे पहले जो इंपॉर्टेंट ऑब्जेक्टिव्स, वर्किंग कैपिटल एनालिसिस. दिस इज वन इंपॉर्टेंट ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ फाइनेंशियल फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट, टू नो द वर्किंग कैपिटल, हाउ द फंड मूव्स, बिकॉज वर्किंग कैपिटल इज रिक्वायर्ड टू रन द डे टू डे एक्टिविटीज ऑफ ए कंपनी. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कैपिटल है वर्किंग कैपिटल, अपार्ट फ्रॉम फिक्स्ड कैपिटल. फिक्स्ड कैपिटल तो एक बार हम लोगों ने इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दिया, हो गया वो. वर्किंग कैपिटल आपको चाहिए फॉर कैरिंग आउट द डे टू डे एक्टिविटीज़, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. तो इसीलिए यहाँ पे जो ओपनिंग क्लोजिंग का डिफरेंस होता है, दैट टेल्स अस कि भाई वर्किंग कैपिटल क्या है, कैसे गया, कैसे मूव किया है, इनफ्लो आउटफ्लो कितना हुआ है. सो दैट एनालिसिस इज डन विद द हेल्प ऑफ फंड फ्लो स्टेटमेंट. We can take dividend decisions with the help of fund flow statement, because if there is a company, joint stock company, so it has to pay the dividends. So it has to decide, the management, how much dividend has to be paid to the shareholders. So these decisions, before taking these decisions, the management would like to prepare this fund flow statement. Then only it can know the current position of the fund. and accordingly it will distribute the funds among the shareholders. So this is one important one. And the third one, that is the fund management. Now this is important. लक्ष्मी बहुत लचीली होती है, इसको संभाल के रखना बहुत ही important art है. In fact, it's very slippery. So fund management is not an easy job, very difficult. तो पूरा जो फाइनेंशियल मैनेजर, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ये दिन रात इसी में लगे हुए होते हैं कि भाई फंड जो है वो किस तरीके से आपको मैनेज करना है. आपको फैक्ट्री भी चलानी है, आपको मार्केट भी चलाना है, आपको नए टेक्नोलॉजी भी लेनी है. तो फंड हर जगह पे चाहिए. तो उसके लिए वी नीड टू हैव ए वेरी प्रॉपर एंड सिस्टमेटिक फंड मैनेजमेंट. फोर्थ advantage or objective, whatever you say, it tells us about the credit worthiness of the company. If the fund flow is good, I mean better, of a company, then the people, the public can assume that okay fine, the company is going good, it is not running into losses, it has heavy transactions. जैसे होता है ना कि बैंक से हम लोग लोन लेने जाते हैं तो दे जनरली चेक आवर ट्रांजैक्शंस हिस्ट्री, कि हम लोगों ने एक पर्टिकुलर ईयर में कितना क्या ट्रांजैक्शंस किया है. ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट ऑल्सो द बैंक प्रोवाइड्स अस लोन्स. तो ये क्रेडिट वर्दीनेस तो इम्पॉर्टेंट है जनरली फॉर टेकिंग लोन्स एंड फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस फ्रॉम द फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस. एंड लास्टली पॉलिसी डिसीजंस. Policy decisions are taken by the top management, and before taking these policies decisions, I mean framing the policies, the management would definitely like to know the fund flow of the company, the current fund flow. So like this you can expand these points. Okay friends, आगे चलते हैं क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 के तरफ. एंड ये है बजटिंग पे. एंड बजटिंग से आपको करना है कि what is budgeting and state its objectives and disadvantages. So this is the question. Budgeting, as we know that we are preparing a statement for the income and expenditure to be done in future. Okay, so that is called budgeting. We prepare a budget, the government prepare a project, a budget for 1 year, 5 year. So there are different types of budget, and the main objectives of this budgeting, let's see the important points that you should learn. The first one, to control cost, so that there are no wastages. The second important objective is to minimize the wastages. तो बजट बनाने के बाद में we can easily find out कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मतलब कम कैसे हो सकता है कॉस्ट, और जो रिसोर्सेस हैं वो वेस्टेजेस ना हो. सो लाइक दिस. एंड द थर्ड वन, टू फाइंड द डेविएशन. यहाँ पे मैं आपको थोड़ी सी चीज़ हाईलाइट कर देता हूँ कि डेविएशन का मतलब होता है कि अगर जैसे दो तरीके की चीज़ होती है हर कंपनी में, स्टैंडर्ड एंड एक्चुअल्स. तो कोई भी एम्प्लॉय का एक स्टैंडर्ड सेट होता है एंड उसका एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस है वो होता है. तो उसके बीच में अगर कोई डेविएशन आता है, डिफरेंस आता है, सो दैट इज कॉल्ड डेविएशन. सो टू फाइंड आउट द डेविएशन वी विल स्टडी दैट इन द स्टैंडर्ड अकाउंटिंग. एंड फोर्थ वन, टू टेक corrective actions. If there are any deviations, so corrective actions are taken by the manager so that the standard performance and the actual performance, they go hand to hand. And this is one very important one, to earn more and more profits. This is the main object of every budget. And lastly, to allocate resources properly, to allocate resources. So these are few important objectives of every budgeting or every budget. and a few demerits of this budgeting, so which you can get in your answer. It is not accurate. It is not accurate. So basically all these budgets are prepared on the basis of the past year's performance. So we are just making a projection about the future कि फ्यूचर में क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है. So ये कभी accurate नहीं हो सकता. There are always deviations. Okay. उसके बाद में you know it needs मैनेजमेंट सपोर्ट. अगर टॉप लेवल मैनेजमेंट का सपोर्ट नहीं है फाइनेंशियल मैनेजर को तो यू नो बजटिंग सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो सकती. सो द टॉप मैनेजमेंट शुड सपोर्ट द फाइनेंशियल मैनेजर इन एग्जीक्यूटिंग एंड प्रिपेयरिंग द बजट ऑल थ्रू आउट. एंड थर्ड, इट इज़ टाइम कंज्यूमिंग. ये तो हम लोग जानते हैं, इजीली इसको डिफाइन कर सकते हैं कि बजट बनाने में टाइम लगता है and it is also expensive. बजट बनाने के लिए again you have to hire professionals, तो उसमें you know you have to pay the salaries to him. Okay, question number 7 के तरफ चलते हैं. And this question is on different types of budgets. Types of budgets. तो देख लेते हैं. इसके भी कुछ कैटेगरीज हैं like जो आपको एग्जाम्स में मिलते हैं. मैंने यू नो 3 टाइप के कैटेगरीज यहाँ पे किए हैं. वन इज़ ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ टाइम, द अदर ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ फंक्शंस, एंड द थर्ड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी. तो ये 3 टाइप के बजट कंपनी जनरली तैयार करती है अपने लिए. टाइम में 2 ही है. एक हो गया लॉन्ग टर्म बजट एंड सेकंड वन शॉर्ट टर्म बजट. तो ये 2 टाइप के बजट ऑलवेज कंपनी प्रिपेयर्स. लॉन्ग टर्म बजट जनरली फॉर लॉन्ग आई मीन फिक्स्ड एसेट्स को लेके होता है, जहाँ पे बहुत अमाउंट होता है. आई मीन यू नो एक्सपेंसेस एक्सपेंडिचर्स काफ़ी होते हैं. शॉर्ट टर्म छोटे छोटे लाइक 1 मंथ, 6 मंथ्स, 3 मंथ्स, 1 ईयर. तो 1 ईयर के अंदर. लॉन्ग टर्म 1 ईयर के ऊपर. एंड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ फंक्शंस यहाँ पे 5 टाइप के बजट तैयार कर सकती है कंपनी. एक तो सेल्स बजट, दूसरा प्रोडक्शन बजट, द थर्ड वन कैश बजट, फोर्थ वन इज फाइनेंशियल बजट, एंड फिफ्थ वन मास्टर बजट. So these are the 5 types of budgets on the basis of function. Sales कि भाई अपने को 3 महीने में next 6 months में कितना सेल करना है, what is the budget. So there that is all done in sales budget. Production again same चीज़ like for the next months or next years how much we have to produce. Cash कितना cash inflow outflow होना चाहिए during the next years. And financial में again financial I mean कितनी प्रॉफिट्स कितने एक्सपेंसेस जाने हैं क्या, तो वो सारी चीज़. मास्टर बजट में एक्चुअली ये सारी चीज़ें आती है. मास्टर बजट यू नो जितने भी बजट होते हैं दे आर ऑल इंक्लूडेड इन द मास्टर बजट. सो लाइक दिस. फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी में बात करते हैं. फिक्स्ड बजट एंड फ्लेक्सिबल बजट, ये 2 टाइप के बजट होते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी. Fixed budget, they remain fixed. They do not change for a particular year. Generally ये जो होते हैं ना लॉन्ग टर्म बजट, दे आर फिक्स्ड बजट्स. गवर्नमेंट बनाती है 1 ईयर के लिए रेल बजट, फाइनेंशियल बजट, सो दे आर ऑल फिक्स्ड बजट्स. फ्लेक्सिबल ये ज़्यादा पॉपुलर है. यू कैन चेंज द बजट एट एनी टाइम एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू द गिवन सिचुएशंस, सो दैट बिकम्स फ्लेक्सिबल. सो कभी कभी यू नो फिक्स्ड और फ्लेक्सिबल बजट पे आपको एग्जाम में मिलता है डिफरेंसेस. सो रिवाइज दैट प्रॉपरली. इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है फॉर द एग्जाम. एंड लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 है जीरो बेस्ड बजटिंग पे एंड इसके एडवांटेजेस एंड डिसएडवांटेजेस. जीरो बेस्ड budgeting. Just let me brief you about this. Zero budget means the budget which starts from the scratch, मतलब जीरो से स्टार्ट करना है. एंड बेसिकली इस बजट में ऑल द एम्प्लॉयज आर इंक्लूडेड. ये बड़ी चीज़ है. तो यू नो लेकिन यहाँ पे इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द मैनेजमेंट कि सारे एम्प्लॉयज़ तो इंक्लूड नहीं कर सकते. जो जो इंपॉर्टेंट पोजीशंस पे हैं एम्प्लॉयज़, वेल एक्सपीरियंस्ड एम्प्लॉयज़, so they can be included while preparing this zero based budget. Let's see few advantages of this type of budgets. सबसे पहले it increases the efficiency of the employees because this budget is prepared by them, so they already feel motivated कि we have participated in preparing this project, this budget, and we will put on our best efforts for this. And the second one, it is more accurate, more reliable, because workers जो एकदम जूनियर लेवल में काम करते हैं, they know what is the current position of the company, I mean say production budget. तो जो वर्कर्स हैं वो बता सकते हैं कि भाई मशीन किस तरीके से काम कर रही है, कितना मैन्युफैक्चर कर सकती है पर डे, तो वो ज़्यादा अच्छे से बजट बना सकते हैं. ठीक है. तो ऑलवेज कंपनी आस्क फॉर देयर व्यूज़, so they are more accurate. And it also reduces cost because workers know better कि how to reduce the cost. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा प्लस पॉइंट है. Then better coordination between the management and labor because both are participating in the preparation of zero based budget. So अच्छी रिलेशनशिप बन सकती है दोनों के बीच में. एंड इट ऑल्सो रिड्यूसेस वेस्टेजेस. तो ये कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स हैं जो आप हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं इन द एडवांटेजेस एंड इन द डिसएडवांटेजेस और डीमेरिट्स और लिमिटेशंस. आप लिख सकते हैं इट इज़ वेरी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग. एवरी बजट इज़ टाइम कंज्यूमिंग. इसको बनाने के लिए टाइम लगता है, पैसे भी लगते हैं. सो ये डीमेरिट्स में आप ऑलवेज लिख सकते हैं इफ़ यू गेट एन एग्जाम दिस थिंग. एक्सपेंसिव भी है. जस्ट नाउ आई टोल्ड यू कि यू नीड प्रोफेशनल पीपल टू प्रिपेयर दिस बजट्स, सो इट इज दैट मेक्स इट वेरी एक्सपेंसिव. एंड द थर्ड वन, too many workers or too many workers are included in this, so that makes it very complex. क्योंकि कभी भी डिसीजन जो होता है वो अगर एक आदमी होता है तो फटाफट ले लेता है, बहुत सारे लोग आ गए तो डिसीजन लेने में काफ़ी टाइम लग जाता है एंड बहुत ही मामला कॉम्प्लेक्स हॉस पॉस हो जाता है. सो दैट बिकम्स अ प्रॉब्लम. एंड एक और प्रॉब्लम है, दैट इज़ वर्कर्स may not be expert in preparing budgets. So they may not have that expertise to prepare the budget. They don't know how to prepare the budget. Question number 9, इस चैप्टर को भी आपको अच्छे से करना है. परफॉर्मेंस बजटिंग में you need to learn the advantages and disadvantages. Now let me brief you. Performance budgeting is about the performance of the employees. Their performance are budgeted. कि कितना परफॉर्म करना है, किसको कितना परफॉर्म करना है. एंड देन स्टैंडर्ड एंड एक्चुअल्स में कंपैरिजन होती है. डेविएशन है तो उसके लिए फिर करेक्टिव एक्शंस आर टेकन. ओके. एडवांटेजेस में इट हेल्प्स इन बेटर मैनेजमेंट. बेटर मैनेजमेंट हो सकता है बिकॉज द मैनेजर नोज के what are the responsibilities given to each and every individuals. So on that basis he can manage his employees well. And second जो सबसे बड़ी चीज़ है यहाँ पे, that is transparency. because यहाँ पे हर वर्कर को मालूम होता है कि yes I have to do this, I have to perform in this way. So there are no hide and seek rule. Everybody knows कि उसको इतना टारगेट दे दिया है and he has to perform according to the targets given to him. So there is completely transparency in this and that helps in improving the performance. There is a sort of accountability. Accountability basically more or less related with responsibility. Everybody knows what is expected and what are the responsibilities that he is carrying with his job. And it also helps the management to take better decisions and frame better policies for the growth and expansion of the business enterprise. Some drawbacks are there of this performance budgeting. The first drawback is it is unsuitable for long term, because these are generally prepared for short term. So when we have to make budgets for long term budgets, so this performance budgeting will not work, and it is also very time consuming and expensive. So this is common, in fact, time consuming and expensive is common in all the drawbacks. And there may be manipulation of data. This is one drawback, because the employees can manipulate the data. So आपने देखा होगा salesman when they are given the targets, तो manipulate करते हैं वो लोग. Okay, here comes with the last question of this video, and this is from standard costing. Standard costing में again advantages and disadvantages. बहुत important chapter है standard costing and marginal costing of MCO-05. Standard costing is a costing which compares the standards with the actuals. ठीक है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कि एक फैक्ट्री है, गारमेंट फैक्ट्री है, हम लोग जानते हैं कि वन वर्कर कैन प्रोड्यूस 100 यूनिट्स, एंड सपोज if the worker can produce more than 100 or maybe less than 100. तो अगर more than 100 है, so that means the worker is more efficient. If less, then that means the worker is lacking somewhere. Okay, so let's see few advantages of this type of costing. It helps to measure the efficiency of the employees. This is one of the most important, because we can measure the efficiency of employees by comparing the standards with actuals. So that's the simple scale we use to measure the efficiency, and it also helps to fix prices of the product. This is again fixed prices, because we know what are the actual cost of producing one commodity, and accordingly we fix up the prices. And it also helps to control the cost, because we can find out the standards and actuals and the deviations, so we can easily evaluate कि भाई wastages कहाँ पे हो रहे हैं, so accordingly we control that. And it helps to fix incentives, because जो अच्छे worker होते हैं who perform more than the standards, तो they need awards from the company. तो उनको incentives देना ही चाहिए कंपनी को, so that they will be motivated to even perform better. तो ये भी चीज़ होती है. Then comes motivation, and if some workers are given incentives, so that will send a message to other workers. They will also work hard for the company. And few disadvantages are also there of this standard costing. The first one, it's very important one. It's practically very difficult to set standards. Difficult to set standards. No, really, it's very difficult, because you just can't set standards. ऐसे ही आँख बंद करके standards हम लोग set नहीं कर सकते. तो because technology change होती है, and accordingly standards भी change होते हैं, तो it's very difficult to set standards for a particular worker. The second one is it is unsuitable for small organization. Unsuitable for small business enterprise, because they just can't afford to have this standard costing in their enterprises. So and this is again this type of costing is unsuitable for service sectors. As we know कि service sectors, that means selling or producing intangible things which cannot be seen and touched and move. तो सर्विस सेक्टर में ये एप्लीकेबल है ही नहीं स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग. एंड एक और ड्रॉबैक है, दैट इज ड्यू टू टेक्नोलॉजी चेंजेस इट्स वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट टू सेट स्टैंडर्ड्स, बिकॉज अगर आपने अच्छी टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ की तो हो सकता है कि जो मशीन 100 यूनिट्स बना रही है तो मे बी वो 200 यूनिट्स बनानी शुरू कर दे, है ना. तो इस तरीके से जब टेक्नोलॉजी चेंज हो गया तो स्टैंडर्ड भी अगेन यू नीड टू चेंज. तो आप कितनी बार स्टैंडर्ड्स चेंज करोगे? सो दैट क्रिएट्स अ कन्फ्यूजन. सो फ्रेंड्स, these are the 10 most important questions of MCO-05, and you must prepare these questions. I hope these questions will strike in the exam, and you will be able to get good score. A very best of luck. Thank you very much for watching this video.